Hi, I'm Chris,
And I'm Eli.
and we are the Landlord Gurus. We've been managing our own rental property for decades now, and we've created this show to share our experiences, tips, and best practices we've refined over the years. Thanks for joining us, whether you found us on YouTube or our podcast or at landlordgurus.com. Before we get started, just a reminder to like, share, and subscribe so you'll get notified when we put out new content.
Hi, everyone. You have Chris and Eli, Landlord Gurus. I'm Eli. This is
Chris,
Hey. Thanks for joining us again on our podcast or YouTube channel, wherever you're finding us. We appreciate it. And just a reminder right off the bat to subscribe and like and share. We'd love it if you would share our content with anybody who might be able to use it. And if you subscribe, you'll get notified whenever we come out with a new episode. So today, this is a bit of a breaking news. I guess it's not hot off the presses exactly, but two of our property management software partners that we've written quite a bit about and reviewed extensively are actually merging. To be more precise, TurboTenant has purchased Azibo. So we just wanted to get that out there for those people who are still researching property management software or maybe are using one of these two. Actually, Chris, you use both of these.
well, I use both of
the
them.
platforms.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about, and I also use TurboTenant. I don't use Azibo, but so Azibo is basically getting kind of folded into TurboTenant. Anybody who has been an Azibo user is now automatically becoming a TurboTenant user, correct? So what's your experience been there?
Exactly. So yeah, I had been using Azibo. One of the key benefits that Azibo does, and for those of you who are not familiar with Azibo, their property management software platform, they really focus on the lease creation and lease document side and lease signings, along with rent collection. And with the lease signing, they had partnered or made partnerships with various associations, like the Rental Housing Association of Washington, and they've had others around the country as well. I don't know off the top of my head exactly which ones. And then some other, I think, condo HOA type associations as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what they are able to do then is, as an RHA WA member, I could access those documents through Azibo, populate them, based on the application and screening process through Azibo, and do the lease signing and rent collection all within the Azibo platform. And so that was one of the big benefits that piqued my interest and got me on board.
Well, let's talk about the reason that's important, right? As is happening in many places around the country, Seattle and Washington in general, landlord-tenant laws are changing quite quickly, and it's getting more complicated and arguably more perilous to operate rental property. You have to make sure you have the right documents that cover not just your state, but in some cases your city. So, for example, here in Seattle, we have a 180-day notice of any increase in rent, whereas just recently it was changed to 90 for the state. And notice, clauses about how notice will be given and all kinds of different aspects are particular to not just Seattle, but, a lot of the West Coast cities, several East Coast cities, but it's changing all over the place. So we can't stress enough that it's really important to have the appropriate documents for your location. And on our site, we have an article about kind of the best way to get the right documents. So Azibo provided a really good service, in places where they offered up a very localized set of documents.
Exactly. Yeah. So, so I'd been using Azibo for a while, and I was using TurboTenants separately as a way to market my properties, advertising and the listings through, their syndication process and through their platform and things like that. So in that case, I was using just their free plan to get those out.
You're using their free
TurboTenant,
right? Because Azibo, did they do any advertising?
They did not.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. And then Azibo offered, free rent payments, but they charged for lease sign. So that was kind of the difference. But yeah, so it sounds like the transition, the integration between TurboTenant and Azibo has started taking place. And I think they've been rolling it out in phases and to different customers at different times. So I have not experienced the full rollout yet. I have gotten information from them and spoken with, one of the onboarding specialists in person just to get more information and to ensure that, And so I've got somewhat of a complicated situation between my different accounts. Since I have accounts with both, and I've got an RHA WA account as well, like to make sure all three kind of get integrated seamlessly at the same time. So I'm hoping that happens seamlessly.
Your concern
there
is
may
the
be some
logins.
hiccups, but
You had some
yeah,
concern
there's
about
different.
logins, right? Because you had the same email address associated with both to the two
Well,
accounts.
and then but a different email address associated with the RHA account, which the Azibo was pulling that in, even though it was different email addresses. It could conceivably be complicated, but I did speak with the onboarding specialists, and what it sounds like is they really are going through some of these complicated situations that they know that they're there, and they will go through them kind of manually, one by one, to ensure that that they will happen smoothly.
And by they, you mean the TurboTenant customer
TurboTenant, yeah.
And for the record, I've found TurboTenant customer service to be quite good when I've needed it. I was able to just schedule a phone call with their onboarding specialist really quickly and easily, and he called at the at the agreed upon time, and it's been a good amount of time just going through and understanding my situation. So, well, I mean, transitions like this can be complicated sometimes and bumpy, so hopefully that won't be the case. But from my perspective, being a TurboTenant user, I think there's probably, if they can offer you what Azibo is offering you as well as what TurboTenant has always offered, this could be a pretty good thing. And the way I've dealt with this lease document issue is historically is I download all the documents from RHA, which is Rental Housing Association of Washington, and they do a great job, as some, not all, rental housing associations do, at keeping up-to-date documents that are accurate and conforming to the current laws. So I would download them, I would manually fill out all the PDFs, and then I would upload to TurboTenant, which has a DocuSign type function to it. So the advantage that Chris had was that he could take an applicant and that all that information would be ported over and populated into the documents. So a lot less manual work. But TurboTenant does.
It sounds like that feature is not going to come along with me right off the bat.
Yeah, I can see where that might be an issue. So that being said, TurboTenant does offer a really broad and very complete set of features. They're what we call one of the full featured property management software platforms out there. So every step of managing your property kind of they have a tool for it there. From advertising, syndication means that it publishes your ad from TurboTenant out to, I don't know, it's a dozen or more different sites. Unfortunately, not including Zillow. So we still recommend doing that separately since there's so many people there that shop on Zillow. And then all the screening and rent, signing and communication, rent collection. They have an add-on accounting tool, and they even have an add-on property maintenance kind of concierge feature. They have a partnership with a company called Lula, and you can add on, and they'll basically take maintenance off of your plate, or when you want it to be, at least. So,
right.
Yeah. So
yeah, it definitely is very full featured, and for me, having that all under one platform now, one roof, will pretty sure simplify my life.
Yeah. Once you get there.
And once we get there, and I'm hoping from the tenant's perspective, it sounds like they will have to create new accounts with TurboTenant, and hopefully that won't be too difficult. I know that I've got various tenants who have various levels of, whether it's technical savvy or just the time or the focus to get through something like that. That may be a little bit bumpy. We'll see. But at least from what I understand, they're not going to have to reset up their bank accounts and relink their account with their banks and, reschedule auto pays and things like that. I think all of that will happen automatically. It's just a matter of them making sure that, they get their new TurboTenant account created.
Well,
that may take some nudging and some hand holding, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's part of being a landlord. There's always a little bit of that. Lots of reminding people. So,
right.
Okay, Chris, do we have anything else we wanted to share about this new development?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty exciting. And I think that, we've spoken with some TurboTenant reps and they're pretty excited about it as well. And I know that they're working hard at it. So, it should be pretty good. And looking forward to see how it shakes out.
Okay, well, that's the news for today. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Okay.